When Mr. and Mrs. Johnson moved into their new apartment in Lagos, they didn't expect much drama. It was a quiet estate, mostly families and working-class people. Their 8-year-old son, Daniel, was a bright and respectful boy who spent most of his time indoors, either reading or watching cartoons. But everything changed when a new tenant moved into the flat opposite theirs. Her name was Anita. Everyone in the estate whispered about her. She was what people called a slay queen. Always dressed in tight clothes, long lashes, and heavy makeup, she had the kind of presence that made heads turn. No one really knew what she did for a living, but she seemed to have money. Expensive wigs, flashy nails, and the latest iPhone were always in her hands. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson had little interest in gossip. As working parents, they left for the office early and returned late, trusting Daniel to stay home with the housekeeper. They never imagined that Anita would take an interest in their son, and they definitely never suspected what she was planning. It started with little things. One afternoon, the housekeeper sent Daniel to buy bread at the estate's corner shop. On his way back, Anita called him over. She was sitting on her balcony, scrolling through her phone. "Hey, cute boy, come here," she said, flashing a smile. Daniel hesitated but walked over. "What's your name?" "Daniel." "Nice name. You live with your parents opposite, right?" He nodded. Anita reached into a small pink bag and pulled out a chocolate bar. "Here, take this. Don't tell your parents. It's our little secret." Daniel, excited, took the chocolate. He had never been given a gift by a stranger before. He ran home, but that night something changed. He started thinking about Anita, about how nice she was, and how she smelled like sweet perfume. The next day, she called him again. This time, she gave him a pair of designer slippers. "You like? My small cousin didn't want them, so I thought of you." Daniel grinned. He had never owned anything so fancy. Anita's plan was working. Every time she saw him, she would give him something new: snacks, video games, even a small amount of money. Daniel, young and naive, thought she was simply being kind. He didn't realize she was slowly pulling him into her world. Within a week, Daniel's behavior changed. The polite, respectful boy who greeted everyone with a smile became rude. The housekeeper noticed first. "Daniel, come and eat your food." "I don't feel like eating your nonsense food," he replied, rolling his eyes. She gasped. "Daniel, where did you learn that?" "Auntie Anita says when you don't like something, say it with your chest." It didn't stop there. He started demanding new clothes. "Mummy, why don't you buy me cool outfits like Auntie Anita? All my mates are dressing nice, and you people are treating me like a small boy." Mr. and Mrs. Johnson were confused. "Who is Anita?" his mother asked. "Our neighbor," the housekeeper answered. They exchanged worried looks. Something was not right. At school, Daniel began using slang his teachers didn't understand. His grades dropped, and he started acting out. The once quiet boy became aggressive, mimicking the behavior he saw in Anita's flashy lifestyle. Anita's grip on Daniel tightened. When his parents left for work, she would call him over. "Come inside, Jair. Let's chill. I got you a new wristwatch." She would play loud music, let him watch TikTok videos on her phone, and teach him slang words. Say "Matto" when something is cool. Say "Japa" when you want to run away from stress. Daniel giggled. He liked hanging out with her. She was fun. One day, she gave him a drink. It smelled sweet and looked like juice. "Taste it," she said, winking. Daniel took a sip. It was bitter. "Yuck, you'll get used to it," she laughed. Big boys don't complain. Little by little, she was changing him. He started skipping his assignments. His teachers called his parents. Daniel is no longer the bright student we knew. He is distracted and uninterested in schoolwork. His parents were shocked. They needed answers. Everything came crashing down on a Friday evening. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson came home early and found Daniel sitting outside Anita's door, laughing loudly. The moment he saw them, his face fell. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" his father barked. Before he could answer, Anita stepped out, smiling. "Relax, Daddy and Mummy. We were just having fun." His mother grabbed his hand. "Fun? With our 8-year-old son? What have you been teaching him?" Anita shrugged. "Nothing bad. Just showing him a little enjoyment. You people are too strict. Let the boy breathe." Mr. Johnson's eyes darkened. "Stay away from my son." Daniel sulked. "But Daddy." "Inside. Now." That night, his parents decided something needed to be done. Daniel was furious. "Why can't I see Auntie Anita again? She's cool. You people are boring." Mrs. Johnson's heart ached. Daniel, she is not a good influence. Says who? Just because she dresses nicely. Mr. Johnson took a deep breath. Son, she is not who you think she is. We are your parents. We know what's best for you. Daniel crossed his arms. You don't understand me. But when he picked up his plate of food and said, "This food is trash," his father slammed the table. Enough. Daniel jumped. From today, you will not step near that woman's house again. You will respect us, or you will face serious punishment. Do you hear me? Daniel had never seen his father so angry. He nodded quickly. For days, Daniel stayed inside, sulking. But slowly, his parents' love and discipline started to sink in. His housekeeper noticed that he was saying please and thank you again. The bad words he learned from Anita faded. Then, one morning, loud noises filled the estate. Anita was moving out. Some neighbors whispered. Landlord gave her quit notice. Too much bad influence on children. Daniel watched from the window, feeling strange. A part of him missed the gifts and the fun, but another part of him knew his parents were right. That evening, he hugged his mother. I'm sorry, Mummy. Mrs. Johnson smiled, holding him close. We love you, Daniel, and we'll always protect you. The spell was broken. Parents must always be aware of who interacts with their children. Not everyone who shows kindness to your child has good intentions. Monitor the people your child spends time with, especially when you are not around. Children are impressionable and can easily be influenced by the wrong company. Not everyone who gives gifts has good intentions. Some people use gifts as a way to manipulate and gain a child's trust. Teach your child that gifts should not come with secrets or conditions. Encourage openness, so they can tell you who gives them things and why. Discipline and guidance are key to shaping a child's character. Without proper discipline, children may develop bad habits from external influences. Consistent guidance helps them distinguish right from wrong. Tough love is sometimes necessary to correct a child before it's too late. A child's first role models should be their parents. Children imitate what they see at home first. Be involved in their lives, so they don't seek guidance from the wrong people. Create a loving, open environment where they feel safe discussing anything with you. No amount of fun is worth losing one's values and future.